New league year is underway, so checking in with you again live. And the 49ers, right before I went live, they made another signing, their third so far. Hassan Ridgeway, former Colts and Eagles defensive tackle, is aboard for a 1 year, $2.5 million deal, $1 million guaranteed. I dug up a very quick clip of Hassan Ridgeway for you just because I thought that this one, courtesy the Eagles YouTube, was fitting. This was against the 49ers in 2020, late when the 49ers were trying to come back with C.J. Beathard as quarterback after they had benched Nick Mullins. And you'll see Hassan Ridgeway just beat Daniel Brunskill clean and corral C.J. Beathard. That was after Nick Mullins had thrown his pick six. So good play from Hassan Ridgeway. He's a nose tackle type, 305 pounds. Weighs the same amount as DJ Jones, and the 49ers needed a nose tackle type to replace DJ Jones, who signed for $10 million average per year with the Denver Broncos. So there's a gap in the middle. Ridgeway out of Texas, 27-year-old, decent player. If you go watch his tape, he can handle double teams. He could do what a 305-pounder needs to do. And, of course, you just saw him, and you're seeing him on the screen beat Daniel Brunskill, who is a light right guard, former college tight end. The 49ers obviously are looking for more out of the guard positions than they've gotten, especially at right guard over the past couple of years. So maybe that's not the best clip to illustrate the proficiency level of Hassan Ridgeway's pass rushing ability, but I thought it was fitting since the 49ers have a tender extended to Daniel Brunskill right now. It's the lower round tender, so he's a below average guard, but he's a good utility lineman, but he was beaten by the guy that the 49ers just signed. Ridgeway played only 7 games in the 2019 and 2020 seasons, but in 2021, he played a full 17. So at age 26, he showed the ability to stay healthy throughout the year, which I'm sure the 49ers liked. And hey, at the end of the day, it's not a big signing. It's not something that's going to eat up a ton of money. It's 1 year, $2.5 million with $1 million guaranteed. So the 49ers needed a body. They needed a veteran to go out there and at least replace some of the impact that DJ Jones had. And that's what they get through Hassan Ridgeway. So nothing to freak out about, nothing to go too crazy about. I will say that, when you do watch that tape of Ridgeway against Brunskill, he does have a burst. He does have the ability to take on some double teams. There's a reason why the 49ers guaranteed him some money, but it's definitely not a splash signing. It's a guy who has some fun tape, who Chris Kasarik might be able to coach up, and Chris Kasarik has coached up a lot of guys. But beyond that, we're not going to make any grand proclamations. I'm going to open up the depth chart here, and I'm going to share it on the screen so that way we can study where exactly Hassan Ridgeway is going to fit on this 49ers team. So I'm going to share screen, go over here, 49ers 90-man depth chart. Boom. There we go. Make this a little bit bigger for all of you. And we can immediately slot Ridgeway into where he needs to be. So you guys are seeing the 49ers roster and depth chart being updated live. Defensive line, Ridgeway's going to make that 50-man roster. 49ers currently have 8 here. Oh, boy, I'm going to have to move some stuff around. I want to put him, at this 2Y nose tackle kind of spot. So the 49ers are deep inside. I think Maurice Hurst could be more here in the 3 technique roles. We'll put Hurst back over here. We'll erase this. We'll put Hassan Ridgeway in right there. Make the font bigger for Maurice Hurst. And every single player that has been signed this offseason gets the yellow highlight. So Hurst also gets the yellow highlight. So Hurst I have lower on the depth chart just because he only played in 2 games due to injury this past season. So we'll keep Hurst down a little bit lower on the pecking order until he proves that he could stay healthy and enter that 49ers rotation. But right now, and I'm not going to project D Ford to make the 53-man roster. I'm going to put D Ford off on the side because until D Ford proves that he's actually healthy, he counts against the 90-man roster, but he's going to be over there. So we don't count D Ford, but we count 4, 7, 8 49ers defensive linemen. It's the highlighted section right here, counting Hassan Ridgeway behind Javon Kinlaw, and of course Maurice Hurst as part of that defensive tackle group. The 49ers also offered an exclusive rights tender to Kevin Given. So that's how the room looks now with the Ridgeway in tow. 49ers, obviously, if you've been following the news, just missed out on Chandler Jones, who they're in the mix for, but he went to the Raiders, and I'm not sure if they're in the mix for Von Miller, but he signed with the Bills. I think they said $120 million, right, for Von Miller. Big, long contract. So the 49ers would love to pair Nick Bosa with another competent edge, but you can't get every free agent, and the 49ers weren't able to get, I think, the top, obviously, edge market free agents. Chandler Jones, they're just happy he's out of the NFC West. Chandler Jones was at the top of that pecking order. Von Miller obviously is getting a little bit older, but he still helped the Rams get over the top this past season. The Rams, I mean, they were able to make a hell of a deal with the Broncos. They got Denver to pay Von Miller's salary, and then he helped LA win a Super Bowl. He was one of the chips that helped push the Rams over the top. But we'll see if the 49ers are able to go out there, get another edge guy. Right now, we're still waiting for that Deshaun Watson powder keg. It is the operative variable that the entire NFL is waiting for. So is it going to happen tonight? Yes, there's some chatter on Twitter about Deshaun Watson making his decision tonight. We do know the 49ers are waiting for that. We do know that they've carried Jimmy Garoppolo on their roster, not their 90-man roster. It's not a 53-man roster right now, but on their roster to enter the new league year, which started about 3 hours ago. And now we patiently wait to see how that impasse will be cleared when Deshaun Watson does announce what team he wants to be traded to, because we assume that the Houston Texans will then consummate that deal after that desire is broadcasted. So it still is a holding pattern. 49ers are under the cap. They now have to pay Charvarius Ward, Oren Burks, and Hassan Ridgeway with the $9.1 million in 2022 room that they have. If they need more, they could free it up by extending Sansom Ebucom, or they can go out and they can extend Jimmy Ward. So the 49ers still have plenty of financial recourses. I think right now released a piece about the 49ers salary cap situation. Yep, it is out. So I'm going to tweet this out, because this is a big one. This is one that you guys should probably check out. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. There you go. Title: How the Expected Salary Cap Spike in 2023 Made 49ers Restructures for Eric Armstead and George Kittle Feasible. So we're going to copy this. Put the... This is tough work. It's tough to tweet and do YouTube Live at the same time, but I can't complain. So this piece right here, and I'm going to put this in the chat section for all of you, because the Athletic's running a sale that's $1 a month right now. I think I'm the first one to really break this down, this information, and this should help explain a lot of the 49ers roster maneuvering and financial behavior from earlier today and obviously yesterday as well, because they've restructured Eric Armstead, they've restructured Dee Ford, and they've restructured George Kittle's contracts. It's a good time to restructure deals. And this piece that is currently in the, you guys can see me tweeting there. Here, let me just put the piece up for you guys, and I'll put here. This piece that is currently up on your screen, as you could see through the title, explains why the salary cap spike that is expected in 2023 and beyond puts the 49ers into really, really good position to restructure these types of deals, carry Jimmy Garoppolo, buy time financially. And I go through all of the financial machinations and the expected revenue projections, because the salary cap is tied to NFL revenue. And the NFL just signed new media deals. And these new media deals are worth about $110 billion. They kick in next season with Amazon broadcasting games. I mean, you saw how much Amazon was willing to pay John Lynch, and he turned it down. They thought it was going to be like $15 million, $14 million per year. That's how much money there is involved in this. Well, the NFL salary cap, which before COVID had been increasing on an average of $10 million per season, is now expected to, based on over-the-cap projections from Jason Fitzgerald, who wrote a great piece on it, is now expected to increase by about $17 million per season. That's an extra $7 million per season, 10 to 17, of expected annual increase, which means that the 49ers were able to execute this type of restructure for Eric Armstead, changing base salary into signing bonus, tacking on void years. Same thing for George Kittle, changing base salary into signing bonus, tacking on void years down there in orange. And they're able to pay the bill in the future. In fact, the total combined cost of Armstead, Kittle, and D Ford restructures is expected to only be about $5.6 million annually. That's a rough estimate. I know that the void years and everything can cause accelerations, but if the cap is going to increase $7 million annually in the future, and the bill for the 49ers of executing these restructures to open up $24 million this year is only going to be about $5 to $6 million, well, there's enough money to push that forward into the future. I know that restructuring had burned the 49ers in the past, back when the dynastic team was in its sunset years in the late 1990s, but that was before the salary cap increased as precipitously every year. Now these new TV deals have changed the game. And now the 49ers are able to use that in their advantage to push payments down the road, because there's essentially going to be big time inflation. There's inflation happening in our regular economy. Well, the salary cap is going to experience inflation. And that means that salary cap dollars now are more valuable than salary cap dollars in the future. So the 49ers would rather save their money now and push payments into the future when cap dollars are not as valuable. And that's what this piece is about. Speaking of, being able to save money, that link, which is right up on the screen, or it's in the chat section, the piece, you can read it for only $1 a month and get everything on Athletic for only $1 a month. And you saw how in-depth that was. So I'm going to compose a tweet here really quickly. You guys can continue watching if you want me to. Now, I don't want to put on Hassan Ridgeway against Daniel Brunskill on repeat, but I do want to get this tweet out before Deshaun Watson gets traded and everything. Really, until I want to do this before shit hits the fan. But here's what I'm going to say. The annual estimated cost of the 49ers, the annual estimated future cost of the 49ers restructuring Armstead, Kittle, and Ford to save $24 million this year is, what is it? Let's see what the actual cost is. I'll scroll down on this page, see what it was. You guys work. I still can't believe that you don't think this is boring. People were like, oh, no, it's not boring. $5.6 million. $5.6 million is the cost. The annual estimated future cost of the 49ers restructuring Armstead, Kittle, and Ford to save $24 million this year, $5.6 million. The annual estimated cap increase under NFL's $7 million. You always have to make these tweets. In fact, I'm going to show you guys how this works on Twitter. I always have to make this tweet fit into there. You can see it up on the screen. This is what I'm working on. The annual estimated future cost of the 49ers restructuring Armstead, Kittle, and Ford to save $24 million this year is $5.6 million. Annual estimated cap increase under NFL's new media deals. $7 million. I break down why it was a no-brainer for 49ers to restructure. Do these restructures are now we're too long. Easy, erase it. All right, let's proofread. Annual estimated future cost of the 49ers restructuring Armstead, Kittle, and Ford to save $24 million this year is $5.6 million. Annual estimated cap increases under the NFL's new media deals is $7 million. I break down why it was a no-brainer for the 49ers to do these restructures. Boom. Let's get that out there. It's out there. The tweet is sent. people can start liking it. They can start interacting with it. And there is the article that they're about to check out. So thank you guys for watching me tweet. And now I could turn to maybe a couple questions, and then I want to get going because I don't know how much time we have right now before Deshaun Watson gets traded. OJ Howard to the Buffalo Bills, 1 year, $3.5 million deal. That was, a situation that I compared to Jordan Reed. OJ Howard needs to rebuild his value. It wasn't quite as cheap as Jordan Reed was, and the 49ers got him in 2020 to rebuild his value because Howard was turning into one of the best receiving tight ends in the game a couple of years ago before the Achilles tear. Bills got him at $3.5 million, I believe, per year. So it's a little bit pricier. When the 49ers got Jordan Reed, it was basically a minimum deal. So that was a total bargain. Unfortunately for them, they're never able to get Reed and Kittle healthy at the same time, which I think was Shanahan's vision. Von Miller deal with the Bills per Benjamin Albright has over $50 million in guarantees. So, boy, this edge rusher market, it's making some money, and Nick Bosa is probably the premier name on it this offseason who's due for a deal, but his is not going to come until later, and the 49ers are going to do their best to backload that for the same reason that these restructures work, because, again, cap inflation means that you want to save cap dollars now. It's easier to operate against the cap later. That's exactly what the 49ers want to do. They want to operate against the cap later. As much money as you can push into the future when these new NFL TV deals worth $110 billion take hold and the salary cap increases, and it starts increasing at a rate that's much faster than it has been increasing over most of the past several years, the more you can push forward, the more financially efficient you'll be. It's called running a business. It's called running the business efficiently, and that's what the 49ers are doing right now. Mike points out the Vaughn deal is really 3 years, $52 million. So it sounds like the Bills are doing the same kind of stuff. It sounds like they're stretching the deal out to push cap dollars into the future. Teams realize the cap is going up, and if you manage it correctly, it's going to be much less of a hindrance since it's going up with this new television deal, and that's what the 49ers are trying to do. Any chance the 49ers look at Hooper? Yes, of course. Austin Hooper, he's a good guy. Stanford guy, obviously. I'm a Stanford guy too. A couple years ago, I ran into him. I don't know if that bar is still there. It's called Westwood on Lombard Street in San Francisco, out there in the marina. It was all the rage right prior to COVID. They even had a mechanical bull. So I remember running into Austin Hooper at Westwood. It might have still been stock and trade before then. But he was telling me about how much he loved playing for Kyle Shanahan. And this was after Kyle Shanahan had obviously left the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know if Hooper was still with the Falcons at the time or if he had signed with the Browns. I believe he was still with the Falcons, but he obviously missed Kyle Shanahan. So I could see Hooper being a potentially dependable pairing with George Kittle and, even Charlie Werner for the 49ers at that tight end position. Yes, I explained how a void year works in this piece, and I'll scroll down. Armstead has 2 void years. So why don't we take a look at this to explain how a void year works. I'm going to scroll down a bit so you can see everything. Okay, so this is Eric Armstead's restructure. You have the old base salaries of his deal here in the first column. You have the new base salaries in the second column. You have the prorated signing bonus amortization, which means spread out over several years in this column, and the total cap hit over on the right side. So in the case of Eric Armstead, the 49ers changed one of the base salaries, $14.2 million in 2022. They lowered it to as low as it can go, which is the veteran league minimum, $1.12 million in 2022. So they cut about $13 million off of the base salary, and they converted it into a signing bonus because the base salary was guaranteed for Eric Armstead. He's got to get the money somehow, some way. Converting it to a signing bonus meant that the 49ers could stretch out the cap impact of those $13 million over a longer period of time. The maximum amount of time that you could stretch out the cap impact is 5 years. So Eric Armstead's actual deal lasted only through 2024. It means the 49ers only had 3 years left on the contract. To maximize the amount of time they could stretch out the cap impact to those 5 years, which is the max allowable by league rules, the 49ers added 2 void years, which are shaded in orange. So that way, the $2.6 million that was tacked on, the $2.6 million is essentially $13 million divide it by 5. It's tacked on all the way through 2026. Think of it as an accordion. You stretch out the accordion, and the max you could stretch out the accordion is 5 years. So the 49ers stretched out the accordion of Eric Armstead's signing bonus cap hit over 5 years with those void years, so they face less of a payment now, and it can open up more 2021 cap room. Now, if you go back to the chart here, 2025 and 2026 are void years, and you're asking me what void years mean. Well, once Armstead contract hits 2025 and they don't re-sign him, if the 49ers don't re-sign him at that point, any money that still hasn't been paid that's set for 25 and 26 will accelerate and hit the cap as dead money. So the void years are effective right now while Armstead is under contract, but they'll no longer be effective once he reaches the end of the contract and actually reaches the void years. But the 49ers are willing to take that trade-off because they feel that they're going to be in a much better cap situation by 2025 when they can actually absorb that dead money than they are right now, when they obviously don't want to be absorbing that money. They're trying to free up money right now. In fact, Jason Fitzgerald of Over the Cap in this piece, I highlight this line, expects a salary cap in the range of $260 million by 2024. Remember, it's $208 million right now. And by 2027, he expects the cap to reach $300 million. So based on those projections, the 49ers will have plenty of space once it comes time for these void years to accelerate. But for now, they're placeholders to keep that. They're stiff arming the salary cap hits. They're holding that stiff arm out so the salary cap hits stay away. They'll finally have to let go of the stiff arm once they hit the void years. But by that point, the 49ers will be in much better position to do so. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Rod. I appreciate you. We'll go back to the top of this article. Everybody check that article out. I'll even put it in the comments section as soon as we're done here. Timothy Smith, what's good, David? Do you think we should try and get Watson with trade for trade with QBs and give up Greenlaw, Mostert, and future picks? Here's the thing about Deshaun Watson. It's not realistic unless Deshaun Watson plays absolute hardball over in Houston and tells the Texans, you can only trade me to the San Francisco 49ers, and I threaten to sit out for the entire 2022 season. My second straight season sitting out, by the way, if you do not do that. That's the only way that Deshaun Watson can possibly convince the Texans to relent and trade him elsewhere. And so far, all reports suggest that that is not in play. So we're dealing with a fantasy until Deshaun Watson actually comes out and says that's exactly what he wants, and he tries to strong arm the Texans into doing that. And even if Deshaun Watson does that, the Texans have plenty of leverage here. I don't know if Deshaun Watson wants to sit out yet another year. Right. It's one of those things where it gets a little old at some point. So he signed a contract with the Texans. In a way, they're doing him a favor by trading him away to, a choice of 4 teams right now. And if he starts trying to force his way onto another team, the Texans could just say, screw you. We're not going to entertain that. We'll sit here and wait. Why don't you just go ahead and sit out? Don't play again. See how long that lasts for you. Because I think that any athlete is chomping at the bit to get back on the field right now. So I actually think the Texans have quite a bit of leverage in this situation. Yeah, this is a good one. Derek Barnett is 25 and trending upward. Could be a bargain. 49ers, they don't mind looking for bargains along that defensive line because Chris Kasarik knows how to develop them. And yes, I think that the Watson situation is clouded with some of the character issues right now. The 49ers are trying to keep that locker room intact if they can. All right, guys. A lot of you saying no on Deshaun Watson. As expected. Cool. All right. So subscribe to the channel. Check out the piece. I'm going to go take care of some stuff because if this Deshaun Watson trade does go down, that's going to be the powder keg that causes everything else to happen, including a potential Jimmy Garoppolo trade. So before that happens, it's kind of calm before the storm, and I need to go get some stuff done. So you have to give me a few minutes to have a little bit of a break here. I've come on live for hours and hours this week already. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. We'll continue having some fun with this, but for now, there's nothing new to report. Everything that is new to report has been discussed in this video. So everybody take care. Thank you. I appreciate you all. even those of you that I disagree with. Take care, everybody.